Radhe Radhe everybody. Welcome to Bhagavad Gita study. Hope your Bhagavad Gita study is going very well and everybody is in touch with Gita every day. This is a video response to Mainik Bhattacharyaji, who had asked me to review both Sadhak Sanjivani and Tattva vivecani and tell me the differences. He had asked that he wants to know the difference and wants to know which one to buy. So, Manishi, you had expressed that there is a problem with Hindi for you, that your group, I think your friends and yourself, you're not comfortable with Hindi and you want an English transliteration. If that is your, make or break deal, then straight away, without opening anything and telling you the difference, I would ask you to buy Sadhak Sanjivani. Number one reason Sadhak Sanjivani is better is because of the flow of writing. It is very easy to follow and you have the transliteration of the Sanskrit verse in English. So you get the joy of chanting the verse and its meaning and reading the purport. So if that is the only thing that matters to you, I would definitely say go with Sadhak Sanjivani. But otherwise, there are pros and cons in both. There are no cons at all. For me, the versions that I have are all ones that have given me something. So I would not say the ones that I have on hand and I have showed you here, not even a single version I would say is useless and this is not to be used. They are all useful in each ways or many ways. So when it comes to Tattva vivecani, the authors are different. This is written by Swami Ram Sukdas. This is by Jayadayal Goyanka. What I do like in this version is, you had mentioned that your friends and yourself are not too familiar with, I think you are familiar with Mahabharata, but your friends are not. This is something that would be useful to set the scene pretty much. So I have never seen a version giving you the entire Gita's breakdown and how it happens and sets a thorough stage with all the characters, like most of the important characters are discussed in the beginning, and even Mahabharata's slokas are being quoted here. So the first introduction, the general survey of Gita, was extremely helpful when I started it. Of course, I wasn't a beginner to Mahabharata. I had known Mahabharata then, but still not as intimately as I would want to understand the importance and understand the scene setting of Gita. Knowing the cultural context and how and why the Gita was spoken at the battlefield sets you up with a very good starting. You have a good head start. Now, the way this is laid down is, I would just go through it. This is not to say you have to buy Tattva vivecani or Sadhak Sanjivani. I'm just giving you options. Again, here I show several things only because the decision comes from you. What is make or break deal? What is very important for me in a version is something that you decide. I'm just going to lay down what I found beneficial in each of these versions. So in general survey of Gita, you have glory of the Gita, purport of the Gita, an essential character of the two parts. Two parts mainly, he speaks of karma a lot, and then he goes like between jnana and bhakti. So the second part is like a very slippery, not too tight in its explanation, but the other two parts are discussed in detail. Total renunciation of prohibited act, renunciation of actions motivated by desire. These subheadings, they give you a very good context and sequence in which Gita has been laid out for us to get maximum benefits. So this general survey of Gita part is extremely important or beneficial, but it takes a long time to go through these, and you'll be tempted to go to the versions given here. That's what I did in the beginning, because while you read it, there are so many versions, not versions, shlokas and chapters being quoted. So chapter 8, 45 to 56 verse slokas, chapter 13 this sloka, chapter 9 31st sloka, and these slokas are always quoted. So if you go look them up, read just the meaning and come back and just continue with the conversation, it was actually very much helpful and enlightening, so to speak. But the problem is that this way, if you had to read this introduction, it takes a very, very long time. But it is time spent very well, because you gain very much out of it when you know the importance, the context, and how the Gita is laid out and what you can expect from each chapter. I appreciate that very much. Gita and the Vedas, Gita and the schools of Sankhya and Yoga. This apology for the present commentary is just, he says that I'm not eligible to do this. I had so many friends helping me and all that. And I know for a fact that Hanuman Prasad Podharji, who's also known as Bhaiji, it's like a Mahan, he's like a noble person. He also had helped him write this version. And it is said that Hanuman Prasad ji, who's I'll refer to him as Bhaiji. Bhaiji used to ask questions and the deities themselves would come and answer. And all his books are valuable. Many books have been written in Hindi, but Gita Press has Bhaiji's books in English. A lot of them are in English. He's a Gandhian and a freedom movement person, amazing human being, and huge, like a big Mahan in spiritual circles. I look up to him, I revere his works, and that is who this person was friends with, and he got a lot of help from him. The second thing that I actually like about Tattva Vivecani is not even one verse is left out, the summary of the chapter. So what is the title of the chapter? What is the summary of the chapter? Not even one verse is left out. Every verse is discussed in the beginning itself in a very short manner. So at the end of reading this, which again takes time and it has to be done carefully, at the end of reading this, you'll already be prepared to jump into the chapter. I appreciated it as a beginner when I was starting this. Mind you, I didn't have Sadhak Sanjivani until recently. I did not read Sadhak Sanjivani much later in my lifetime. This was the actually second Gita that I ever touched. This particular book is my mother's, and you can see how old this is. How old this is, and how much she has protected it with the plastic sheet and all that. This is very special. So there was one that I had which was given away. There was one more that I had much later, like maybe in my 20s or late 20s. This was bought in my house, which I gave away to John, and this one is my mother's own copy. The other one was also my mother's, but there were no writings and underlining in it. So I will always have a special place for Tattva Vivecani in my heart, only because this was the second version that I ever read. So if you were saying that you had problems reading Hindi script, thereby Devanagari and Sanskrit script is hard for you. So this may not be a good option for you for that reason, because there is no transliteration. If you see, there is Sanskrit verse and then word by word meaning in English of those Sanskrit words written in Sanskrit, and then the meaning and the purport. So you may have issues with this for that reason. Otherwise, if you absolutely don't know the script at all, and that would be a problem. You may not like this, but if you said okay, I can read, but I don't know Sanskrit, I don't know the meaning of the Sanskrit, I can read this. So if that is the case, then you have the meaning here for each word, so that may not be a huge problem for for the reason that you have stated. But if you said I absolutely cannot read Hindi or Sanskrit or Devanagari script, and I don't have any intentions of learning it or doing a supplemental, if you thought okay, this would be a good opportunity for me to learn Sanskrit too, which I did. I could read Hindi, I could read Sanskrit, but I didn't know Sanskrit when I was reading this. So what I would do is I would my uncle used to know Sanskrit, so I would just ask him if this is a multiple means. There are things that had multiple meanings that are helpful to know, and I didn't have much use for Sanskrit and sandhis. For example, when two words are combining, it's pronounced with another word and stuff like that. So I didn't have use for this because I wasn't chanting these verses so much. But I would ask my uncle about the pronunciation, write them down in English. So that used to help me. Or you could have another version that had the transliteration, which is a small version, which would have English version. There may be versions like that, which you can keep as a supplemental, like a small book which had the transliterations. By transliteration, I mean English version of the Sanskrit verse. And then write it down here and continue to study. You could do that. But if that is too much for you, and you generally do not like I'm sorry, the way this is laid out, then I would say do not even bother, just go for Sadhak Sanjivani. And the way this is laid out is the meaning and then the purport. The purport does not break down anything here. The purport is just a running commentary of what the author thinks this verse is about. Now, with somebody, I'm so sorry. Somebody had commented on my another video saying that this is more of an Advaitic approach rather than Vishishta Advaita, which I thought it was. The thing is that unless it's written by an Acharya who actually belongs to a certain philosophy, a reader or a sadhak might always get what he naturally is inclined towards. I think in the spiritual approach, I'm probably more of a Vishishta Advaitin than an Advaitin, although I think Advaita is the highest philosophy there is. And that doesn't matter. See, for us, we shouldn't be so much focused on whether this is preaching Advaita or Vishishta Advaita or Advaita. I again say it is my own experience I'm sharing here. There is no need for you to either take this fully or, I'm not forcing you to take what I have to say here. But my experience with the Gita study has been, if you set aside philosophy and all that and just read the Gita and try to study each verse and take stuff out of it for your daily life and for your own spiritual evolution, those things are beyond philosophy. So you can give me Shankaracharya's version and I would still find some something there that inclines to, like, that resonates with my Vishishta Advaitic thought or whatever. But philosophies are in a separate level. I would say for somebody that has already identified themselves as not the body and they are the soul, then comes a discussion whether the soul is part of a super soul or apart from the super soul, an eternally dependent entity which is Dvaita, and a part of a super soul which is Vishishta Advaita, and super soul and soul being the same, the Advaita. That comes the next step, and we are not there yet. So our entire lifetime will be spent reading the Gita and studying the Gita, loving the Gita, chanting the Gita, contemplating on Gita, and all being part of a spiritual practice, Gita study this will only help us just to get rid of this deha abhimanam, which is body related identity. Just to come out of that takes lifetime. So I wouldn't so much say for beginners like me to concentrate too much on what philosophy is this, whether I want to buy this or not. I would say start reading Gita, and then comes the philosophies, and then comes your inclination and your resonation, and then comes your own spiritual practices and how you look upon God, and then things just take shape. But before that, getting into philosophies is a waste of time, and in my opinion, it could be a worthwhile experience for you. Each person is wherever they are, and God ordains them to do or not to do things, as sitting as antaryami inside, and giving each soul their own inner guidance. So I wouldn't mess anything with that, but just as a beginner, this is all I have to say, that just start the study rather than getting into philosophies and trying to align with a certain philosophy and buying the book. I would say there are versions that would absolutely not give you anything. I have thrown certain Gitas, not even donated, because those were not even worth donating. I have thrown Gitas because they were absolute trash. Authors would interpret them in their own way, like whatever the absolute trash. The people have done that too with Gita commentaries. So, and there was one particular one that I was, so it's not Gita, it was the Devi Mahatmyam, which I bought with so much enthusiasm, and it was like a beautiful book with a lot of quality images and paper and everything. That author, I don't know what he was doing with it. I do not know whatever Goddess had given him. Yes, he had written it there, but that was not meant for public, is my opinion. That was just misleading and just absolutely not useful. So I threw that book. So there are certain books that just do not offer anything. There are certain versions, but those are the versions that I don't show here. Any version I show here actually has something to offer in terms of your study and your spiritual growth. So Tattva Vivecani is one such where you can buy and begin. But if you have this Hindi thing and Sanskrit thing as something or a break, it would just break the deal, I do not want this, then stay away from this. But the advantages are there, that each chapter is having a summary, so you should read the entire summary. What I would do, I had read the entire summary, I had given them separate colors each verse, and I had even broken them into sections. Verses 20, 21, 22 to 23, 25 to 27. And so they would give you what it speaks about. I would give them a color, I would break that down and use them the same color with it to study. And then I would take a theme out of it and reconcile it. So for example, if it says between the verses 20 and 21, Krishna says something. So 20 and 21 would be importance of soul, or whatever, importance of differentiating body and soul or something like that. Then I would say differentiating body and soul, and take notes and align the color and take the juice out of it, so to speak. It was helpful doing that, this version. Now coming to Sadhak Sanjivani, this probably is the best version to in all aspects. You had stated you had a language problem. Yes, this takes care of that. And then this also has one big advantage where the author breaks each part of the shloka, ashochan and vashochastvam, then pragyavadamsha bhashase gatasun agatasuncha nanu sochanti panditaha. So the verse itself is broken into pieces and completely analyzed in a manner that does not overwhelm a reader. You will not be thinking, oh my God, what have I done? Oh my God, what have I gotten into? Absolutely not. This takes you in a very nice pace. I have only had very pleasant experiences learning with this book. And any deep dive I do on camera is from this nowadays. Sometimes I do Ranganathananda, but I don't do it on camera. This has become my YouTube study book, so to speak. I only take verses from here. As far as the layout is concerned, it doesn't have any context or things about Mahabharata or detailed introduction. It does not have. A small chapter introduction is given in the beginning, and then he goes on to discuss the verses, and the verses are discussed in a manner where there is no hang up. Like, for example, you don't I find that in the beginning you might be frustrated with Tattva Vivecani if you were like me, where the verses themselves have too many references. So likewise, God says in 13th chapter and 15th shloka, you would be tempted to go there and come back. It takes time to do that and stuff like that. This has references like that, but not very many. It doesn't turn you into circles. The flow of it is beautiful, and the way the study is laid out is absolutely beginner friendly. I only have very good things to say about this version. And with your language constraint that you had mentioned, this is the best book that you can invest in. So don't put away Tattva Vivecani from your mind, because I am going to be partial. I love Tattva Vivecani, so I'll keep on recommending this book, but don't put away this in mind. Maybe for later. I think for you in particular and your friends having the language and the beginner thing, please go ahead and buy Sadhak Sanjivani, which may be best for you. I would still say look at both. Just go to, you said Gita Press is in your city. If they have stores, go into it, open this book, read one or two slokas from this, and then make the decision. But with information that you have given me, I think Sadhak Sanjivani is best. And I can recommend Sadhak Sanjivani for anybody that is a beginner or intermediate or advanced. I think Sadhak Sanjivani is an excellent version to invest in. This is an investment. Also, because you said that you did know the Mahabharata, and that your friends didn't know Mahabharata, and so they were asking you questions and you were trying to inform them. I recommend that you have a Mahabharata book with you. And because I had showed Mahabharata versions, not versions, but the one that I have with me, that is like too much to purchase in the beginning. People will not want it unless you have intentions to invest time in it. 12, 13 volumes of Mahabharata with each parva and each sloka probably is an overkill for you. But I recommend that you buy Kamala Subramaniam's Mahabharata, or a general Mahabharata if you have from Gita Press, as a supplemental guide for Bhagavad Gita. Just because you said that, because I have never seen or anybody emailing me. There are emails, there are many people emailing me, but they've never said that I wanted to read the Mahabharata also to know the context and some discussions that come up circling Mahabharata. So it's a very good idea to keep a Mahabharata with you. But mind you, Kamala Subramanian's, at least Kamala Subramaniam's version is not the, there are many discrepancies, as I had stated before, about Karna and about Draupadi and Indraprastha happenings and all that. So the regular film version or the serial version is what you get in it. But it is good to have nevertheless. Now, if you have anything in Gita Press, which I don't know if Mahabharata is available, I've never looked up Mahabharata in Gita Press. If you have a version of Mahabharata, just the story, not the shloka by shloka, please do buy it as a supplemental reading to your study. It would definitely help answer questions to your friends, or if you're doing a group study, which is a great thing to do. Unfortunately, I have not found companions to do that with me. It's very hard sometimes being where we are, and that's the reason why I came to YouTube, is to connect with people that had interest on this. So it is very hard to find a group to study with that have the same intention and inclinations, and not too much of a orientation. Their intention is to realize God's words and get into God's words and apply them in life, rather than having all these other things that may sway us. That is the difficulty. So if you find a group I'm sorry if you have a group, please study with them, and that will be very helpful. And if you want to discuss Mahabharata while you're studying the Gita, it is actually an enriching experience. You should do it. Thank you for asking the question, Bhattacharyaji, and I'm also sorry that this video was so delayed, and as you see, my health hasn't been well at all, so I have made sure that I got this out the door, because you had asked me quite a while ago. Hope you find this useful, and I can leave my email address in this video if people had anything to discuss or queries, and keep it very respectful and civil, please. And I'll be able to answer emails when I'm able to. Good luck with your studies, and Radhe Radhe.